Hope has two beautiful daughters, Augustine wrote. Their names are anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, and courage to see that they do not remain the way they are. Anger when directed against those who would abuse the weak, preach bigotry and injustice, trample on the poor, crush dissent, and impose a religious tyranny is a blessing. Read the prophets. But because so many of our liberal institutions are bankrupt, bought off by corporate dollars, no longer willing to accept in religious terms that heretics exist, the goal is to appease the very people who openly call for our destruction. The liberal church stumbles along, muttering creeds they no longer believe, trying to peddle a fuzzy, feel-good theology that distorts and ignores the Bible, often as much as the Christian right. And the Christian right is not always wrong about liberals. In fact, the movement voices much of our most prescient social criticism. They understand the ills of American society, even as they use these ills to plunge us into tyranny. They grasp the hollowness, timidity, and hypocrisy of the liberal church. The Christian right attacks cultural relativism, the creed that there is no absolute good and all value systems have equal merit, even as they benefit in a final irony from those who tolerate them in the name of cultural relativism. The most potent opposition to the movement will rise, I expect, from within the evangelical tradition itself. And the movement fears Christians who have remained loyal to the core values of the gospel, who delineate between right and wrong, who are willing to be vilified and attacked in the name of a higher good, and who have the courage to fight back. Most liberals the movement has figured out will stand complacently to be sheared like sheep, attempting to open dialogues and reach out their hands to those who spit venom in their face. Karl Popper, in the first volume of The Enemies of the Open Society, writes of what he calls the paradox of tolerance. Unlimited tolerance, he says, must lead to the disappearance of tolerance. If we extend unlimited tolerance even to those who are intolerant, if we are not prepared to defend a tolerant society against the onslaught of the intolerant, then the tolerant will be destroyed and tolerance with them. In this formulation, I do not imply, for instance, that we should always suppress the utterance of intolerant philosophies. As long as we can counter them by rational argument and keep them in check by public opinion, suppression would certainly be most unwise. But we should claim the right to suppress them if necessary by force, for it may easily turn out that they are not prepared to meet us on the level of rational argument, but begin by denouncing all argument. They may forbid their followers to listen to rational argument because it is deceptive, and teach them to answer arguments by the use of their fists or pistols. We should therefore claim, in the name of tolerance, the right not to tolerate the intolerant. We should claim that any movement preaching intolerance places itself outside the law, and we should consider incitement to intolerance and persecution as criminal in the same way as we should consider incitement to murder or kidnapping or the revival of the slave trade as criminal. The Christian right has no religious legitimacy. It is a mass political movement. It ignores the core values of the Christian religion, summed up by Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, and the core values of American democracy. They are, as the Reverend William Sloane Coffin said, not biblical literalists, as they claim, but selective literalists choosing bits and pieces of the Bible that conform to their ideology and bigotry, and ignoring, distorting, or making up the rest. We must begin to support those isolated groups and individuals who at some cost are fighting back, the clergy and rabbis who have banded together in Ohio to challenge in court the tax-exempt status of the megachurches that peddle this ideology and promote Christian candidates. The independent judges, such as the Republican-appointed judge in Dover, Pennsylvania, who banned the teaching of creationism in the public school because it is mythology, not science. As well as Cardinal Roger Mahony, the head of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, the nation's largest, who called on Catholics to be prepared to defy efforts in Congress backed by the religious right, to make it a felony to shield or protect or offer support to illegal immigrants. This bill would expand the definition of alien smuggling to theoretically include working in a soup kitchen, driving a friend to a bus stop, or caring for a neighbor's child. It would make mercy, compassion, and charity for the least among us a federal crime. I do not deny the right of these Christian radicals to believe and worship as they choose, but I will not engage in a dialogue with those who deny my right to be, who delegitimize my faith and denounce my struggle before God as worthless. All dialogue must include respect and tolerance for the belief, worth, and dignity of others, including those outside the nation and the faith. When this respect is denied, it is no longer a difference of opinion. It is a fight for survival. This movement seeks, in the name of Christianity and American democracy, to destroy that which it claims to defend. I do not believe that America will inevitably become a fascist state or that the Christian right is the Nazi Party. But I do believe that the Christian right is a sworn and potent enemy of the open society. Its ideology bears within it the seeds of a religious fascism. In the event of a crisis, in the event of another catastrophic terrorist attack, an economic meltdown, or huge environmental disaster, the movement stands poised to ruthlessly reshape America in ways that have not been seen since the nation's founding. All Americans, not only those of faith, must learn to speak about this movement with a new vocabulary, to give up passivity, and to defend tolerance. The attacks by this movement on the rights and beliefs of Muslims, Jews, immigrants, gays, lesbians, women, scholars, scientists, those they dismiss as nominal Christians, and those they brand with a curse of secular humanist, is an attack on all of us, on our values, our religious freedoms, and our democracy. Tolerance is a virtue, but tolerance, coupled with passivity, is a vice.